This is the Irish Roots Cafe, where every day's a holiday and there's always room for one more. Come right this way, have a seat with me today in the corner booth, celebrating our 118th week of this podcast. Hey, Sweeney, clear that floor. Katie, bar the door. Molly, put on another pot of Irish coffee and bring out the Irish dancers. It's time we get this show on the road. Another full house today, not a chair to spare. I'm your host, Mike OLaughlin. You can reach me on my webpage at irishroots.com anytime. You can check out our written show notes also on our blog, which contains some expanded information on the things we're talking about here today, and links that you can just click on to go to the subject matter. And you can search all of our books and our videos, and you can also phone 816-256-3360 to leave your comments on my recorder. Try it, you'll like it. Among today's topics, the Irish family name of the week is Brannagan, no matter how you spell the name. A packing list for your trip to Ireland. The book of the month is King James Irish Army List. Searching for Moriarty, Corrigan, Erwin, and Smyth, among others. 10 blogs for genetic genealogy. Forced out of school for wearing a kilt. Now I wonder what that's about. And the 10 best summer festivals in Ireland. Hey, that brings us up to the notes for the week. Well, let's see what's been happening around here this week. I can't verify it personally, but TripAdvisor.com has named the Blarney Stone as the world's #1 germ-filled attraction. And that's based upon the fact that 400,000 or so go and kiss that rock every year. Now, I would think that zoos would rank right up there too, and maybe forests, but and they do wipe that stone off every time after somebody kisses it, so they may both be full of the Blarney themselves, but we'll have to see if anybody replies to this horrendous charge. Hey, number 2. I've also been forwarded an article on the Irish-American funeral traditions from deathcare.com. And, I think we've all heard of an Irish wake, and there's several different definitions. I guess as long as you're Irish, your wake's going to be an Irish wake. But they've got a little couple of articles on that, so that might be interested if you're doing some scholarly research on the topic. And let me see, number 3. A note on Canadian family tree research. In case you haven't heard, Ancestry.com has released the census returns for 1861, 71, and 81. So if you're looking in that area of the world and you're on Ancestry, that should be of interest. You might dig up somebody new. If you've retired for a couple of years and you've been waiting for those censuses on Ancestry, well, there they are. Number 4, you can get some free genealogy charts online. You can just type it in your little search box, or you can type in a specific location. We've got one of those specific locations you can click on the blog if you need that kind of help. And gosh, that should do it for what's happening around here this week. We've got a lot to cover, and I've got an almost flat tire out there, so I've got to go get some air in it and find some replacement tires for the morning. But let's move on. What do we have now? It's the book of the month. Well, we're picking King James Irish Army List one more time for that. And, of course, that book includes the Wild Geese of Ireland that settled in foreign lands. And I've got a link to the book, if you're looking for it, on the blog. And remember, King James Irish Army List had the native Irish patriots on that list. That wasn't the list of the foreigners that were coming in and fighting on the other side. A lot of people seem to think that since it was the King's Army List, none of the native Irish would be on that list, but it's just the opposite. You sure got to check it out if you're looking. It's just a gigantic collection of family history that was put together back in the 19th century, and it took the author over 50 years to put it together. We reprinted it there just a few years ago, and I have exactly 2 cartons left, so I haven't been advertising it much, but I thought this is the easiest way to let people know what's out there. It's about 1,000 pages, and It starts around 1689 for the list point. That's where the list was compiled. And then d'Alton goes and he looks back as far as he can in the history of each family or family name. And then he also brings it down to his present day, if he can, which is in the 1800s. So it was a pretty valuable work in its day, and it remains so because some of those works he used have disappeared or been destroyed over time. So there's some pretty nice little nooks and crannies in that book. Some people say, okay, who were the Wild Geese? Well, d'Alton described the Wild Geese as a body of 30 to 40,000 Irish who had been plundered of their estates, and they left Ireland under several leaders, and they entered the service of France and Spain and Austria and Venice. He tried to document each one of them by name. Gosh, there were 70 regiments that he used as a starting point, so you can tell how interesting it might be. It's not just genealogy, but it's history. After those 70 regiments, he also includes family histories of the family in Ireland and abroad. And some Scots-Irish families and other settler families are in there too. So be sure to check that out if you've got an interest. Hey, and you know what's coming up? Joe Waldus bags a big one in Ireland. We'll have to tell you about that. And coming up now, you know what time it is? It's time to raise our eyes skyward, give thanks, and ask for help. Here are today's Magnificent Seven. Number 1, Francis Moriarty of Middleborough, Massachusetts. Your birth index and your county carry genealogy and family history notes have shipped. Number 2, Maureen Martineau of Tingwit, Quebec, Canada. Your county Tipperary genealogy has shipped. Number 3, welcome to new member Deborah Jane Donoskovic of West Burke, Vermont. Number 4, Diane Corrigan of Cache, Oklahoma. Welcome as a gold member, searching for Corrigan, Armstrong, and Haskin. Number 5, William R. Erwin, Jr. of Durham, North Carolina. Welcome as a gold member. And they say, I am a fifth generation from John Erwin, circa 1780 to 1840, and wife Margaret Scott, maybe was the name, circa 1780 to 1850, of County Down, and they migrated to Jefferson County, Alabama. The DNA is verified to the Erwins of Ballykeel, Loch Earn, and descendants are still in the area and known. So you've really done a heck of a job tracing that family back. Looks like a really good one. And the large Erwin family of Burke County, North Carolina, and that of John Thomas Erwin of Ontario, Canada, are also closely connected by DNA. So here we've got families in Canada and the USA coming from the same line, and they might not even know each other today, but here's one way to renew those old contacts. We've got number 6, Karen Smyth, and that's Smith with a Y, of Mountain View, California. Welcome as a new member, searching for Smith. And she says she's headed to Belfast for a week in July, and she has some family research completed, and she knows her great-great-great-grandfather Samuel Smith arrived in Canada during the famine. Hey, here's another Canadian connection. And he was married October 20th, 1842 to Mary Newton at St. Andrew's Church in Kingston, Ontario. And she says she's been told by her family that they were from County Down, north of Newcastle. And she says while she's in Northern Ireland, she'd love to take a day trip there and possibly find some reconnection, a parish or something relating specifically to my family. Hey, I don't think you'll have any trouble finding a day trip, and if you just point them in that direction, you'll find something heading out your way. You can even get a driver in a car for a day if you want, if you can't find a bus that'll take you right there. It's not that difficult. Of course, you could also rent a car, but sometimes a driver in a car is not bad if you got the right connections. Number 7, Edith Bader of San Jose, California. Welcome as a member, and your Irish families and County Kildare genealogy notes have shipped. Well, that reminds me to thank you one more time. I like to do that every time we had a podcast because those members out there and those folks who support us by buying my books, that's what makes it all possible. If that goes away, everything goes away. So you're at the top of my list. Now we're going to move to what? It's going to be the Irish family name of the day. Well, the Irish family name of the day is Brannagan. Today's family history is in honor of a member. You know, related spellings of the name, you can spell that with an O in front of it, or you can drop the O, of course. You can have a double N or a single N, and that, boy, the I's can be E's or they can be A's, and you can even put an E on the end of the name, so there's no N to it, and you can even shorten it. Some people get it confused with Brannan, and it's recorded sometimes that way in the record, so keep an eye out, and remember, your name, the same thing can happen to it, or the same ways. And it's part of variant spelling groups 2112, 2027, 149, 155, and 2121 from the Master Guide to the Various Spellings of Irish Family Names. Now let's move on to a little history for the name. The Brannagan name is said to have been taken from Brannagan most anciently, and the family is found in Armagh and Monaghan in the 1890 birth index. And spelled as Brannagan, what's all A's in there, the name is given in Dublin, and in more modern times you're going to find the name centered at Drogheda in County Louth, and some of the name are found in Kilkenny as well. Now, if we took a look in the Irish family coats of arms in the Irish Book of Arms, we don't find them there in the old section of the Irish Book of Arms. Hey, before I forget, coming up later in this episode, do you know which Irish city will host the World Dwarf Games in July? We're going to find out in just a second. And let's take one more look here at Brannagan. The Free Master Index search of Irish names at irishroots.com finds the family several times, including the following examples. Brannagan in County Kilkenny genealogy book, Brannagan in County Armagh and County Monaghan genealogy, and Brannagan with an I-G-I-N as the ending, is in the families of County Dublin, and Brannagan with an I-G-A-N in the birth index of Ireland. That just gives you an idea on the spellings there. There's more listings, but that's just to give you an idea what's in that free search. You can go look there for yourself and see all the other books it appears in, and if you've got other names, you can type those names in. Just be sure to leave the Mac or O off the name, then type the rest of the name in, and it'll pull it up for you free. Well, now, boy, we're just moving right along real well this week. Let's take a look at the websites of the week. Well, here we've got several. We're going to pick one, the Cobh Heritage Center. That's Queenstown, County Cork. Was an older name there. You know, those place names change just like Irish surnames change. And Cobh is pronounced spelled C-O-B-H. And here's just another little blog entry on it from another site, and it's an interesting one. So I've got that link on the blog, or you can just type Cobh Heritage Center, C-O-B-H, in your search engine on your computer, and it'll take you right there. And now we also have the 10 best summer festivals in Ireland. Of course, that's according to the person that put the list together, which was not me. But they've got the Wicklow Arts Festival, the Drogheda Arts Festival, the Volvo Ocean Race, Stopover and Festival. Boy, I didn't know those Volvos could race on the ocean. That would be a sight. I guess they're just one step ahead of the competition. Now, Dublin Docklands Maritime Festival, the AIB Street Performance World Championships, Waterford Spry Festival, Galway Arts Festival, the Castle Palooza in County Offaly. We've got some creative people put those last two together. The Kilkenny Arts Festival, Dunlarry Festival of World Cultures. And I think that does it. You can learn more by going to the blog and clicking on the link, and you can read a paragraph or two about each one of them and see if you might want to attend one of those this year. Moving on to number 3, 10 great blogs for genetic genealogists. Well, that's interesting. They've got them I've got them listed on the blog, and you can click and go to see each one if you click on my blog there too. It's got things like European Genetics and Anthropology blog, Eye on DNA, Genetic Future, Megan's Roots World, the Daily Scan, the Personal Genome, and even the Spittoon. Wouldn't that be something? And on that page, they left off one, and somebody wrote a note in on comments and said, don't forget the Genetic Genealogist blog. So there's another one. But click right in there, and if you're just curious and want to expand your knowledge quickly, check one of those blogs out. Just click on my blog on the link, and it'll take you to the place that gave that list. Well, this moves us up to what? Curious News and Notes. Well, I'll just give you some things to think about today. There's a lot of places to click on, and here we've got one place that has listed the top 5 weird Irish bars. And that includes a really bad Irish bar in Boise, Idaho, for starters. You'll have to go there to see the rest. This was originally found, I found that in Irish Central. Number 2, there's a 22-volume dictionary of the Scots language online. And it's an electronic version of 2 major works, so no longer do you have to find a rare copy of those sets. You can go right online and check it out. And, of course, the Scots language is closely related to the Irish language, so there might be some lap over there. Number 3, our friends at Irish Fireside have a packing list for Ireland, and they sure know what they're doing, so I included a link on our blog under Curious News and Notes for them. And number 4, now here we find a principal apologizing for forcing a student out of school or to take off his kilt at school because it was interrupting the class. But you know, I read that. It's been a couple weeks. I can't remember the whole story now. But I think he was wearing that kilt as part of some official ceremony or function. So it should have been okay. So in the end, he got to wear it. Of course, now I can remember when I was going to school, if somebody came wearing a kilt, that would cause a little bit of a disruption. But it could be a chance for a learning experience. You explain those kilts, and I hope they would explain that the tartans with the special colors and design for families were a Scottish tradition, and of course not an old Irish family tradition. Number 5. The 50th annual Rose of Tralee Festival is this August, and street festival is always a big part of that. I know if you've been there, you've seen it, and the big major events are held at the Dome, and the finale of the whole thing, the biggie, is the Black Tie Rose Ball, and that's held on Friday, August 21st. So if you're planning to be in the area or make a special trip, that's when it is. And you can read more about that in the Irish Examiner. I've got a link on the blog. Number 6, hey, a half-ton shark was caught off the coast of County Clare, and that set a record. 70-year-old Joe Waldis bagged a 1,056-pound shark using an 80-pound test line. And there's a picture and story. You can click on the blog for that. But I tell you what, an 80-pound test line for an 1,000-pound shark, I think I used to use little old 20-pound test lines, and a 5-pound catfish would break the string. I don't know how they get to a 1,056-pound shark. Old Joe must know how to get around on the ocean there. It was right off the coast of Clare, so good luck for him, and congratulations. And now let's see. Number 7, Belfast will host the World Dwarf Games beginning July 27th. That's an athletic event. And over 200 contestants from 15 countries are taking part. And, the first World Dwarf Games were held in Chicago in 1993. You can read more about that in the Belfast Telegraph. I've got a link in the blog, but I thought it was interesting. Ireland's just getting to become the center of so many things these days, and they're having their troubles financially just like everybody else, too. They shot up real quick with the EU funding and really made a good go of it. And, of course, now with everything coming down, it's just the same for them, maybe a little bit more rapid descent. But they're doing fine, and they need your support. Well, I think that does it for the day. We did real fine here. I'm going to have time to take care of things the rest of the day. Remember, if you've got any questions or comments, You can send it by mail to the Irish Roots Cafe at Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri 64116, or you can leave your message on my phone recorder at 816-256-3360. Skype me at Irish Roots Cafe. Find me on MySpace at Irish Roots Cafe. And find me on Facebook at Mike OLaughlin. Hey, or you can Twitter me as Irish Roots Cafe. Always can use a good tweet or two now and then. Or you can listen into mine. And remember, members foot the bill so they get first priority, but we're open to all. And by the way, a big thank you to all of our members. And away.